Good morning, everybody. Keith Engel here for TGI Sports Talks College Football Huddle. Hope you're all having a great weekend so far. I was away, as you know, during the week, so we did not do this show live on Wednesday night. You on Roku, Northeast Streaming Sports Roku, normally see this on a replay basis. But we are live this morning, so live on TGI Sports Talk on Facebook and YouTube, live on Northeast Streaming Sports on YouTube, Facebook, and the Roku app. Let's talk to you, boys. Sorry. Northeast Streaming Sports Roku app. So check that out. Get that downloaded. Really growing. Great content. Fresh content every day. And the same with Let's Talk Sports. Lots of great content over there. We welcome you all, and a little thumbs up to DDH as we talk about Let's Talk Sports. We like to do that, and those who follow the show religiously certainly know what that's all about. And a quick shout out to Ralph Williams at the RW Media, and specifically his show, The Sports Corner, that he does with Smokin' Jim Frazier on WBVP 1230 AM, 99.3 FM. So Ralph does a great job over there, and we'll get him here at some point. And also, if you would, keep a good thought and a prayer if you want to do so. For a friend of mine who was, I found out as I got off a plane last night at 10 o'clock, tragically was hit by a car in Amsterdam, New York. Don't know his situation. I know it was pretty grave last night. And my thoughts and prayers go out to Billy Slocum and his family. The three brothers I'm very close to, and I do hope things are improving there. And well, I'm waiting for more information on that. So let's keep a thought and prayer, if you would, for my friend. We're getting into a lot of stuff today, guys. We haven't had a chance to chat too much about the playoff selection. I said on the college football show, let me get rid of the music here. The college football huddle last week, and also on the Sunday Stream of Consciousness show, that FSU, whether they won or lost, and Texas won, and Alabama won, that they would get screwed, and I was right. You can say whatever you want, and I've seen people bring up, we're going to get into that topic. We're going to get it. We'll look at all the championship games. We'll look at the playoff games. We'll look at Army-Navy today. We'll look at some of the good matchups in the bowl games and some things that I wouldn't watch if you paid me. Well, the Heisman Trophy tonight. Some coaching news. Obviously, I think there's only 2 jobs left to be filled at the moment. And some other things going on around the world of college football. See what we can get to. President Charlie Baker's come up with a new plan, too, for paying players, which we'll get into a little bit of that. And Jim Biringer will join us at some point today, and wherever we are in our conversation, we'll jump off and talk to Jim about his thoughts on this, all of these, some of these stories, and maybe other things he has on his mind. But back to the committee. I mean, obviously, we all know by this point it's Washington, it's Michigan, it's Oklahoma and Texas. I said it would come down to that if everything played out as it should. And well, we didn't know about Alabama obviously beating Georgia. I know I'm certain. And by the way, no 13-0 power conference champion has ever been passed over in this 14 playoff. I had people message me about Florida State getting in one year when they had a loss, and Nebraska was undefeated and somebody else was undefeated. I want to say back in, obviously it was Nebraska, so it had to be a long time ago. It's 20 years ago or more. Maybe it was 30. It was a whole totally different system, by the way. This was supposed to eliminate this. Now we won't have these problems when it's 12-team playoff in a year, but we have them now. And I firmly believe, I've had some conversations and heated discussions about this thing with some people in the last week. To me, the committee just did not want to have the decision to make between Alabama and Texas. And it says, I guess in fairness to them, the committee, it does say that they can take in consideration how the team is playing today and how injuries affect them today and could affect their performance going forward, which is stupid. I get it. The team has earned their way to play for a national championship. They went undefeated in a power conference and won their championship. And don't tell me, I get it, the ACC is not the SEC. Nobody's saying it is. But it's probably as good as the competition that Texas faced in the Big 12, if we just want to talk about that. You know, I don't understand. TV rules. I'm not sure how big an audience we'll get today, by the way, live, because this is not the normal time slot for the show. I expect to get a lot of views later, and you people are certainly more than welcome to comment. So please do. Let's take a quick look at championship week. And again, we'll be waiting for Jim Biringer to come on here in a little bit and share some of his thoughts about what's transpired here in the last, week or less. Let's get let's just look at, why do I have all these things not where they were when I left? Last week, championship Saturday. What did they, or weekend? I mean, what surprised us? Not a lot surprised me, to be honest with you. The Alabama score didn't surprise me. I was picking Georgia to win their third straight game. It was a really, I think, a good game. They squeaked out a 3-point victory. Georgia made this a little closer in the fourth quarter, but Alabama was in control here for a long time, and they win 27-21. No miracles needed. No fourth and 36 touchdowns needed. So congratulations to Alabama for getting in. Washington, and what was another classic game. I think Oregon loses again a second time to Washington. So Oregon with 2 losses. And we'll talk about where these other teams ended up as well. Michigan, no big surprise. Iowa unable to score. They didn't need to do much. JJ McCarthy did need to do much. Corum only ran for 52 yards, but 2 touchdowns. Iowa's defense played well. This is only, I think, the 3rd and 4th touchdown scored on their defense, rushing touchdown scored on their defense all year. So Iowa puts up a bit of a fight on defense, but at the end of the day, not much. Florida State, listen, their quarterback didn't play well. The defense played well. The special teams played well. The rest of the team steps up, wins against not a bad Louisville team. I understand they're ranked 16th, and it's the worst ranking matchup of these championship games. But Florida State goes 13-0, and they're going home. And a lot of discussion about whether if Deion was the coach of his team, if they'd be in. If that's a fact, then that's just stupid. I'm sorry. And, of course, in the last game, Texas just rolls. Texas, again, Oklahoma State never in this game. I think they were down 21-0. No, I think it was 21-7. Because I do think they were at 14-7 at one point, but should have bet the over here. Texas rolls. They wanted to get some, I think they wanted to get some style points here, so they roll 49-21. I don't think the final score probably mattered at all at the end of the day with what the committee decided to do and take Texas along with Alabama. They did not want, again, to get down to that final matchup of matching up just Alabama and Texas, because they would have had to answer a question about if they left Texas out, which they probably would have in that situation, given what I've seen today or saw last week with what happened to Florida State. I have no doubt if they had put Florida State in, as they should have, and it came down to those 2 teams, that they would have taken Alabama, and then they would have had questions about, well, Texas beat them. Some other championship games. Congratulations to Liberty and Jamie Chadwell. 49-35 victory over a good New Mexico State team to actually squeak out. I wish they would show the points, right? I'd like to know how much they beat SMU by. I would like to know how much Florida State was behind Texas, let's say, or whoever finished. Hang on one second. Who finished? Who finished third? Yeah, Alabama finished fourth. How far did Florida State fall behind Alabama? How far did SMU, who had a nice win over Tulane in the AAC championship game? But Liberty goes 13-0 and gets rewarded for that. They'll be going to a New Year's Day bowl game, which we'll be looking at in a little bit, as the representative from the group of five with the highest ranking. Congratulations to Jamie Chadwell and Liberty. Great job. They've had, the program's been on the rise. Might have had a little bit of a down year last year before Hugh Freeze had left for Auburn. But Hugh Freeze did a great job getting that program built up. Jamie Chadwell, maybe we'll take it to the next level. I'm sure if he stays there long enough, and they're playing out of Conference USA now instead of an independent, which gives them a leg up. So they would have been in a 12-game playoff here this year, a 12-team playoff. They would have been in. So congratulations to them as well. Some other games. Where's my scoreboard again? We talked about Liberty. We talked about those games. The other championship game, I think we got to get out of the top 25. We talked about SMU beating a very good Tulane game, and Willie Fritz left Tulane, as you may or may not know, for Houston. We'll get into some of that in a little bit as well. What do we got here from Mr. Rick Sherlock? How are you? Good morning to you. Good to be home. It was a long week, good week. Had a lot of fun meeting some of the people work for and with me, and I work for, out in our Utah offices. I was at a trade show in Loveland, Colorado before that, and got to spend some time with my brother, who also lives in Utah, and believe it or not, actually lives 3 doors from my boss up in the mountains in Utah. So it's very, very interesting. And yes, Army Navy today. I did talk a little bit about that at the top. We'll get into Army Navy in a little bit. Always, again, this is one thing. The NCAA screws up a lot of crap. Please don't screw up this. Army Navy gets their own stage. Please don't ever screw this up. Like Army today, we'll talk about it in a little bit. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Rick, let me see if I had this up earlier. Here we go. Quarterfinals. I believe Albany is playing today. Albany is playing. Albany is playing today at number 4, Idaho. That game will be on ESPN Plus tonight, which I'll try. I'm exhausted, by the way. I'll try to watch some of that. So they're playing in the what do we call the FCS playoff. So good luck to Albany State today, or Albany as we call them today. Had a great season, great win last week, and congratulations to them. Looking at after those results, I want to look at a couple other things here real quick. Hold on, I didn't get to all of the finals. I want to do everybody justice, right? That's the games that were played in the top 25. There's a couple others we'll touch on here just to give them their due, because we like to do that. It's not all about the big boys all the time. So Toledo was undefeated in MAC play, gets upset by Miami of Ohio, 23-14 to win the MAC title. Miami had a really good year as well. Congratulations to them. Boise State rolls over Vegas last week, 44-20. Vegas had a great year, especially in the Mountain West, and Boise State. And come on, remember, they fired their coach 3 weeks ago, which is still in, again, they went 8-5 and 6-2 in the Mountain West. Mountain West is an underrated league. Good game there. Congratulations to Boise State and their new head coach. We'll talk about coaches in a little bit. All the positions are filled with 2. I believe Nevada and Troy, I think. And speaking of Troy, they win 49-23 over Appalachian State. So congratulations to all of those teams. They did a great job. Let's look at the final poll. And Jim Biringer, by the way, will join us here at some point in the next hour and 15 minutes. To give us his take on something we talked about. So the final rankings, and we're going to talk about Jim Harbaugh a little bit. Can't stop talking about Harbaugh. Harbaugh back on the sideline for that Michigan game. I neglected to mention. And there are reports that Harbaugh is now, I thought he was going to the NFL. We thought they were going to chase him out, but there are a lot of reports today that he is in line for a lucrative contract extension of around $11 million a year for 5 years. We'll see whether that comes to fruition or not. Look at whatever you think about the guy, he's a good football coach, and he has turned Michigan around. So anyway, Michigan ends up number 1 in the poll. They'll play number 4, Alabama. We'll get into all those matchups in a little bit. They'll play, it says next week, but they don't play next week. I think it's the next game. And Washington finishes second after beating Oregon in another very close matchup last week. And we're going to get to the Heisman. I think Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. both have fallen down. I think Jalen Daniels will win this award. Fairly, unfairly. A lot of his numbers put up in garbage time here. Not that he's not a great player. A lot of his numbers put up in garbage time in several weeks recently as well. So we'll see how that plays out. But Washington will play Texas, who finishes 12-1. Cam Ewers, who played a great game against Oklahoma State, and has said now he's coming back to Texas. So Manning had already said he was coming back. Now Ewers said, because I think thinking Ewers was leaving. If Ewers comes back, it sets up an interesting situation. Does Arch Manning stay there? There should be some good games in the lesser bowl games. The Pinstripe Bowl, which you know is not one of my favorites. We'll see what the matchups are. We're going to go through them all here in a little bit, Rick. And I'll talk about the ones we like and the ones we don't. If we have time with Jim Biringer, we'll go through them all quickly. I mean, there's only 80 of them, right? So now 40. By the way, James Madison, congratulations to them getting a bowl bid but only because there weren't enough teams that met criteria to go to a bowl game. So the NCAA waived their idiotic rule about bowl games and teams moving up from FCS to FBS 1. And their coach now has moved on. We'll talk about some of the coaching moves too. Some interesting moves at some of these schools. Houston, Illinois, I want to say, they brought in the coach from James Madison. Moves to coaches who are old enough to probably say, I'm not looking for the next job. Manny Diaz going to Duke, maybe looking for the next job. But some of these other hires, Willie Fritz going to Houston. I'm not thinking of the coach. His name is slipping my mind. We'll come up with it here in a second. The James Madison coach going to Illinois. These guys might stick around and try to build something there because they're in their 60s. And you're really going to keep jumping forever? Who says cheaters never win or prosper? First of all, again, I'm not a naive person by any stretch of the imagination. Not even a little bit. There's all the evidence, all of these mountains of evidence that the NCAA supposedly has, all point towards one rogue assistant, maybe a couple other guys. There's nothing. And again, I'm not stupid. I'm not saying Jim Harbaugh did not know about what was going on. None of the evidence points to him. Just saying, you guys all want evidence because I say everybody does it. And you watch any show where there are former players, former coaches, former whatever, they'll tell you it's going on. Some kind of looking for an edge is going on everywhere. Not one shred of evidence right now points back to Jim Harbaugh. Nothing. Now, again, I say that knowing Well, he had to know something. But we all want to talk about evidence, not necessarily you, Rick. But we've had some other people on our college football huddle who have really pointed that out, that, the evidence is there. There's no evidence about, Sports Illustrated is not usually in the habit of writing stories about things that didn't actually happen without sources. Is there a smoking gun? Maybe not, but they have sources to confirm things. They don't just go out and print things. It's not the National Enquirer of sports. So when they report that Ohio State and Rutgers knew the signs for Michigan and gave them to Purdue for the championship game last year, I tend to believe that. And common sense tells me this goes on everywhere. And if you watch other people, I'm not the only one making these claims. And if you want evidence, I will tell you again, whether it's on the pro level, whether it's on the college level, they all do it. And if somebody decides they want to find evidence on you, they will get it. But you can't, they're never going to prosecute everybody, so they are never going to do that. And they will, select to prosecute who they want. Yes, interesting, too, that Army-Navy will be playing on my stomping grounds of Gillette Stadium in Foxborough today, and it does look like a beautiful day for the Army-Navy game. I'm excited for this game. Rick, and I'm glad you bring it up. I know we cover the Army, the military schools in general, quite in depth here. I think we always want to report on their scores and any news. Jeff Monken, by the way, got a new contract at Army. I like Army today. I might look at the over-under. I think it's only like 27. We'll look at it. But they get their own stage, right? And I think that's very important that they get their own stage. So I look forward to that. It's always a fun day. And I'm going to, again, I've been traveling for 5 days, in last night, 10 o'clock, and not getting, the best of news from a friend of mine about another friend of mine. Didn't sleep terribly well last night myself. So we're going to be lounging, and much my wife will probably be really happy about, because I'm sure she wants me to take her somewhere for dinner tonight as I've been gone, but I'm tired. I got walking airports today, man, is like ridiculous. Salt Lake City, beautiful airport, beautiful city. Oh, by the way, if you ever get a chance, you ever been to Utah? I've never been. My brother's been there 9 years. I'd never been out there. The scenery is amazing. I won't get into the rest of the things that go on and that were brought up to me as far as a lot of intolerant people, but maybe that's for a different show. Not for me. I just spent a few days there, but in general, some interesting things that I was told about. And a long night, by the way, with my brother. Yikes! On Wednesday, we solved all the world's problems. The world probably will not be very happy, but we solved pretty much all the world's problems that night over an entire bottle of Jameson. So we had a lot of fun. Where else was I in these rankings? So Georgia, as we've thought, I thought they might finish. I thought Ohio State might finish ahead of them, actually. But they'll be playing Florida State, leaving the Orange Bowl. We'll look at the bowl matchups in a bit. But Georgia finishes 6th, Ohio State 7, Oregon 8, Missouri 9, Penn State 10, Ole Miss 11, Oklahoma 12. So if we had a 12-team playoff, just want to look at that quickly, and we'll talk more about our Army Navy in a little bit too, Rick, and we can talk anything you want to talk about there. We will. We'll get into that game a little bit and make our pick. If we had a 12-team playoff this year, number one, interesting fact, Notre Dame would be out of it. You would have had automatic bids go to Michigan, Washington, Texas, Alabama, Florida State, and Liberty. That'd have been your top 6. Then you would have had Georgia, Oklahoma State, Oregon, Missouri, Penn State, Ole Miss, and that would be it. Oklahoma have been left out. LSU would have been left out. The worry of John DeLon that we'd have a bunch of three-loss teams. Nobody with more than 2 losses. Nobody in here with a horrendous loss. that I can think of off the top of my head. You'd have 4 undefeated teams. 4 undefeated teams. You'd have 1, 2, 3, 4 one-loss teams, and then 4 two-loss teams. Very representative playoff. And if you ever could have had, if there ever could have been a year to have it, it would have been this year. We wouldn't have this vitriol about the Florida State, Oklahoma, Texas situation. And again, I've made it very clear. I think this committee and the NCAA and the TV partners did not want the question to come down to Texas versus Oklahoma. So they made it FSU against both of them. Because the questions become much harder if you compare Texas and Alabama and take Texas because they beat Alabama. And I do not give a rat's behind when they beat them. If that's all that matters when you play them, why am I scheduling it at all? When Alabama's scheduling Chattanooga in week 12 or 11, whatever it was. All right. I think Rick had something else here. Hey, Carlos, how are you, buddy? This year would have been an awful playoff. Carlos, what is wrong with you? How can you tell me that 4 undefeated teams, 4 one-loss teams, and 4 two-loss teams would be awful? You're never going to get a better year for a matchup in playoffs than this. God, I wish we had a show yesterday, man. I just have to shake my head. Because we are not going to have arguments. It will not happen when we get to 12-team playoffs about the 12th and 13th teams. I could care less. Well, first of all, they should go to my my preferred playoff, not my playoff. Okay, let's be clear, Mr. Basement Bob. Don't be suing me anymore. This is a great playoff. What team would belong in? I'll tell you what, the most deserving team that would be left out would be Arizona. But 3 losses. I'd be okay. You put a rule in the teams with 3 losses couldn't make it. So now we don't just take the top 6 at-large teams. This would have been a great year for a playoff. Liberty and FSU, what? I'm not curious. Again, I need more information. You're telling me Liberty would have made it a bad playoff? Liberty will be in the playoff next year, or Tulane, or SMU, or somebody, or maybe somebody from the Mountain West, I guess. But you're going to get a team from the American Conference. You're going to get a team from Conference USA. You're going to get a team from Mountain West every year. One, not all of them. In my preferred system, you would get somebody from those leagues every year. I watch most of these kids play in some of these games. Oh, you watched some of the games, did you? Carlos, Saturday football is so much better than Sunday football. It's not even close. The NCAA, as effed up as they are, still a better product on the field week in and week out than on Sundays. It just is. There's no way anybody can dispute that in my mind. Every team I mentioned in that 12-team playoff would be deserving, and the only team I would give an argument to that wouldn't be in it would be Arizona. The committee's going to want Notre Dame, but they wouldn't be in. I'm not sure where your FSU gets screwed this year. Absolutely screwed. And we talked about the fact that it would happen. Before the games were ever played, I told you FSU was going to get screwed. You may have said the same thing, Carlos. I don't remember. Louisville and SFU, the Cardinals look spent. FSU defensively did well. They deserve to be in. I don't care who they played or how they played. They're 13-0 in a power conference. You can't be taken, and it's never happened in the, I don't know how long we've been doing this, 2014, 13, 9 or 10, 8, 9, 10 years, whatever it is, of this 14 playoff. We've never had an undefeated power conference team be left home for a one-loss conference champion, ever. why not be rewarded for the fact that you played through the loss of one of the best quarterbacks in the country, by the way, one of the best leaders in the country, for sure. I know that word is sometimes foreign to some of you. But they played through that with a second-string quarterback and then a third-string quarterback and beat. Again, you can say what you want about Louisville. They did lose the week before to Kentucky. They did lose to Pittsburgh this year, but they were ranked 14th in the country. It isn't like they beat the little children of the poor, and I wouldn't have cared. Little sisters of the poor, sorry. Nice shot right now on ESPN. Game day will be at ESPN. I think they don't start until 10 o'clock. Actually, maybe they do start at 9. I don't know. But they're live right now from Foxborough. Great crowd there for the Army-Navy game today, so we look forward to that. Even Tulane looked formidable, but in a playoff, I don't know. They wouldn't have been in a playoff, Carlos. SMU won that league. In fact, Liberty would have been the representative from the group of 5. Tulane, who I loved, before the championship game, they lost to a red-hot SMU team, by the way. They only lost Ole Miss on the road without their starting quarterback. You want to sit and play with these 14 playoffs and get these controversies, then more power to you. I want to see a representative playoff, and I want every conference champion to have a chance to play. I don't give a crap if they get beat by 60. I really don't. And this year, a 12-team matchup would have been awesome. You would have had Michigan, Washington, Tulane. I'm sorry, Michigan, Tulane. Michigan, Washington, Texas, and Alabama, all with byes. So you would have had Liberty play. Excuse me. Liberty would have played Ole Miss, but I don't know how they would rank that. No, Liberty probably would have played Georgia. That's my bad. Ohio State would have played Ole Miss. Oregon would have played Missouri. And I have Penn State in there. I don't know who the heck they would have played. I screwed up something here. No, Florida State, sorry. Florida State would have played Liberty. Interesting game there. Liberty would have had a chance to potentially move forward because it's a situation that everybody's ripping FSU for, right? Then you would have had Georgia playing Ole Miss. Good game there. We know Lane Kiffin can't beat the top teams in the SEC, but it would have been a good game, I'm sure. Ohio State against Penn State. A rematch. And Oregon against Missouri. I'd have paid big money to watch that game. This would have been a great year for a 12-team playoff. My God. What do you got here, Rick? The problem with FSU and Georgia and it should be a great game, but the quarterback situation will probably rear its ugly head. I'm not saying FSU would have had a great chance to win the playoff, but I think they deserved a chance to go and battle for it. We'll find out. And what happens. Georgia's probably going to beat them pretty handily, I would think, without Travis Jordan or Jordan Travis. His name's interchangeable to me. And then they'll say, see, look, we were right. No, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. People will jump on this score, Rick, and you know it. I never read your whole comment. Let me read it. The problem with FMU Georgia and what should be a great game. Well, that's, we don't know. It's the hard part. I like to bet the college games, right? And I love betting college. I've had a great year in the cigar box and up a significant amount of money, most of it on Saturdays. But now it gets hard to bet games because you don't know who's playing. And to the point I was making also with this, Rick, what's going to happen too, if Georgia, if I was to bet this game today, I'd probably bet Georgia. I mean, assuming Brock Bowers is playing, and we can't assume that. And McConkey and all those weapons that Carson Beck, who really got better during the course of the year. I would have to say, what will happen is if Georgia wins this game handily, the people who want to knock FSU and say they should not have been in the playoff will use that as ammunition to say, see, we told you so, which that's not even the point. The point is they deserve a chance to play for the championship. Doesn't matter if they go in there and get annihilated. So again, my mission statement would be different than obviously the committees who they want the teams that can be most competitive. How are you playing now? It doesn't matter what your whole body of work is. It's how you're playing now, which is why they didn't want to come down to Texas and Alabama, because if it came down to Texas and Alabama, they would have taken Alabama and disregarded the fact that Texas beat them because it was in week 2. Who cares? Why schedule the game if it's not going to matter 3 months later? That's a great analogy, too, is in any other league, this wouldn't happen. Maybe in college basketball, but no great team is going to get left out of the tournament. And there's a lot more teams, I understand that. Going to get left out because their best player got hurt. In the NFL, Rick, we'll use the Chiefs for an example. The Chiefs, or let's use the Eagles, who's got the best record in the league, right? Let's just say they're 15-2. And Hurts gets hurt. Tried to say that fast. It would be like them leaving them out. Well, they don't have as good a chance to win now because their best player's out. So we should take a different team. We'll take whoever you want to fill in there. It's just ridiculous. I mean, what's the point? I mean, again, these will be good matchups. I'm excited to watch these games. Don't get me wrong. But I'll be remembering that FSU got screwed. These games already sound terrible. Those games sound terrible to you. Carlos, what do you want to see? Austin Peay play Tennessee? There's nobody there can be no argument for any of those teams to get left out. Oklahoma, you lost to Kansas, who's not even in the rankings, guys. Not even in the rankings. Okay? Out. Who else would be left out? LSU. 3 losses. You lost to Florida State. Oh, I forgot. That was so long ago. You nearly got beat by Missouri. 3 losses. Go home. Notre Dame? No way. Arizona's the only team I would give an argument to. And they had 3 losses. Louisville? No. You lost to Pittsburgh and Kentucky and to an FSU team without a quarterback. Iowa? NC State? Oregon State? No, none of them could make an argument. And if you don't think those top 12 matchups would be really good, just not paying attention. Watch more games. That's all I can tell you. Watch more games. Oregon, Missouri would be a great game. Why wouldn't you tell me why? And then again, you get to the second round, the matchups would be even better. I can't help you. I can't. Well, there you go. I was making a joke. I don't think these teams. I will make a bet now, no matter, unless they include every team, that these 2 teams will never play in any kind of playoff game. Tennessee might. Sorry, Carlos, about your Austin Peay team. What other news is going on around college football we can talk about? We are hoping to be joined by Jim Biringer, and I want to get into the bowl games, but I wanted to wait for Jim. I didn't want to go through it twice. So let's talk. Well, if he doesn't show up here in the next 15 or 20 minutes, we'll get into that. Let's look at some of the other news. Let's go to the coaching situation real quick. 2 jobs left open. And we'll take a look at some of these hires. I believe all that's left open is Troy and Nevada. Some big hires, though. Texas A&M hires Mike Elko, their former defensive coordinator, who went to Duke and did a great job there. This is a great hire for Texas A&M. Mike Elko is well liked by the people at Texas A&M. It's interesting. Contract details were not divulged, but don't be shocked if he doesn't have a guaranteed 10 years, $77 million contract. Not going to happen. And you're going to start to see these colleges moving away from this. Mike Elko, nice hire by Texas A&M. Will they recruit as good as Jimbo did? It doesn't matter. He recruited and didn't win. It's all about winning games. And I think again, biggest challenge is he's playing in a loaded SEC. But good hire. I'm happy for Mike Elko here. I really am. I mean, where were they going to go? They had Matt Campbell, a choice of the choices. They went to Matt Campbell. He said he wasn't interested. I said Matt Campbell. Sorry, Dan Campbell, the coach of the Lions, was not interested. And Mike Elko might have been the third choice here, but regardless, I think this is a good hire for them. And I think he'll have them competing to get at least, and again, remember, divisions are going away next year. So I think Mike Elko will get this team to a chance to fit. Manny Diaz, probably the assistant with the best chance of any assistant coach in the country to move up because he's had a job before on a major level at Miami with mixed results. Guarantee. I understand that. Did a great job at Penn State with the defense there since he's been there with James Franklin. I think this is a good hire for Duke. Now, this is the one place Mike Elko will probably be at Texas A&M for the rest of his coaching career, I believe, just because of his ties to the university. Not sure his age, but Manny Diaz, the one downside I see for Duke here, Manny Diaz, he's still a young guy with aspirations maybe to coach at a better level than Duke. But Duke is not a bad football program right now, thanks to Mike Elko. And they've had good years sporadically under David Cutcliffe, under Steve Spurrier going way back. Consistency is a problem at Duke in football, but I do think it'll be interesting that Diaz will be back in the ACC coaching against Miami, hopefully every year, and we'll see how that works out. Houston hires Willie Fritz. Great hire for Houston. I mentioned earlier at the top of the show that I thought Willie Fritz was one of the hirings that was really good for Houston because he'll stay there. He's 63 years old, I believe. He's not going to be looking to, jump ship 2 years in and take an even better job. I would expect him to stay in town. And Houston is a pretty good situation. They're in a power conference again, finally, after decades of wandering in the wilderness, if you will, of Group of Five football after the old Southwest Conference broke up. But Willie Fritz did great work at Tulane. Tulane was nowhere. Tulane might have even lost their football program for a while. I know Terry Bowden, the other Bowden, not Terry Bowden. I think Tommy Bowden, who used to coach at Clemson, coached at Tulane. Could not get this turned around. He did a great job at a university not known for overwhelming football programs and got them to a Cotton Bowl berth last year. And I think he'll stick around. I think it's a really good hire. Kurt Cignetti is the other guy that I couldn't think of from James Madison. Good hire for Indiana. Tough spot to go and win. I will say that. Big Ten is going to be a gauntlet for any of these schools that aren't at the top echelon. But Cignetti did a great job in reviving a James Madison program. They were a power at the FCS level. They've been very good since they came to the FBS level, and stupidly, the NCAA's got this rule where they can't participate in a bowl game. They did get a bowl game this year. I'm not really sure if he's coaching or not. But again, another coach, 62 years old, don't think he's going to want to be looking for his next stop. He'll want to see if I can build a winner now. This one guy wants a challenge. Can I build a winner in the Big Ten at a school that's not known for that? Had some good years under Tom Allen. But none of the last three of them were and that's spelled demise for Tom Allen. I wouldn't doubt see Tom Allen coaching again at a lower level. Jeff Lebby, offensive coordinator for Oklahoma. I'm sure the people at Oklahoma are sorry to see him go. He's averaging about 50 points a game this year. He'd been offensive coordinator at UCF before this. He was on a lot of people's short lists last year. He will come in here, and Mississippi State when Dan Mullen was there, and obviously when the late Mike Leach was there, was known for their offensive firepower. He's a good fit in that situation. The defenses were never able to keep up. He's got to get himself a good defensive coordinator. And again, very tough to go to Mississippi State and compete year in and year out in what's going to be a monster of a conference at the SEC. Plus, it's hard to right now compete recruiting wise with Ole Miss. Say what you want about Lane Kiffin, but he's got a great personality and he knows how to get kids to come into the program. So congratulations to Jeff Lebby, and it's going to be a tough, but this won't be his last stop. Jonathan Smith, Michigan State, kind of a mess, obviously. He's got to rebuild the whole culture and the identity of the program after what they went through with Mel Tucker. Absolutely the stupidest coach in the country. But he did a great job at Oregon State. Again, a school not known for consistent winning seasons. Did a great job there. And did a great job in the transfer portal, bringing DJ Ugalele, I can never say his name, to transfer in from Clemson. Had a really good year this year. By the way, the next level, DJ might be one of the better players. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a better player than Michael Penix. And that's not a knock on Michael Penix. They're great college players, and I will not knock them. He's a great college quarterback. Next level is going to be a little different. And I think DJ is going to have a better chance than, say, Michael Penix and maybe some of these other guys. Jalen Daniels, maybe. I don't know. Again, he's built more like a more traditional college pro quarterback. And we're not going to get into this too much today. We will at a later date. But I think he's got a chance to surprise people at the next level. We'll see. The challenge is obviously, this team is just awful. They rank in the second half of the league in almost every category, offensively, defensively. There's no identity to this school, and the culture needs to have a complete overhaul. So another downfall is he's never coached outside of the Northwest, so now he's got to recruit in the Midwest. Maybe not such a big deal because of with all the realignment and all the transfer portal stuff. It's not regional recruiting is not necessarily a thing. David Braun gets the full-time job at Northwestern. Congratulations to David Braun. Great job. I thought this team would be lucky to win 2 games this year. And he goes 7-5 and goes to a bowl game. I think he's 500 in the Big Ten. The team got better. Again, in a horrible situation that Pat Fitzgerald left behind when he was fired. A great job. They're doing some... the challenges are obvious, right? You're playing in a Big Ten that's going to get only better. Another league going away from division, so you don't have a chance to, sneak out a win in that Western division. They're rebuilding their stadium. Ryan Field is undergoing renovations. So big challenges for David Braun. But congratulations to him. Fran Brown goes to Syracuse. Good coach. I like Dino Babers. Dino Babers was in an impossible situation in my mind at Syracuse when they went to the ACC. And I think David Brown's going to face some of the same challenges of recruiting and getting, 4 and 5 star players to come to the Northeast. Trent Bay, and I see Jim has popped in. We'll get him in here in a second. I just want to finish up this last couple of coaches, and we'll go back to that. But I want to get Jim in here and talk about what we talked about with the playoff and the FSU, Texas, Oklahoma situation. And he and I will maybe go through some of these bowl games and see which ones are worth watching. So let's bring in, without further ado, Mr. Jim Biringer from Let's Talk Sports. Good morning. And Full Press Hockey. It's not a hockey show today, but
it's not.
We want to get you to do it, fullpresshockey.com. So good to have you with me today, Jim. Sorry we couldn't do it Wednesday night, but I just the time difference, and it was just too hard to do. So anyway.
As long as you had a good vacation, that's all that matters.
No, I was work, actually. So I was working.
Boo, even worse.
I did get to see my brother, though, because
I'll
retell this story quickly. My boss, we have an office. I was at a trade show in Colorado. Then I went up to our Utah offices. We have some offices in Utah. The boss I have now, I've been with his company 22 years, and my boss now lives 3 doors from where my brother moved to in Utah. So I spent the 3 nights with my brother, and we had some fun. So,
nice. That's good.
Except for the bottle of Jameson we drank.
Ooh, well, you know what? That's allowed.
Yes, it was a long day the next day, but yes, we had a lot of fun. So anyway, it's good to be back. I'm glad you were able to join me today.
Me too.
We haven't had a chance to kind of chat and we've had a week to decompress about the playoff.
But people are still mad, so it.
Well,
look, I'm going to say this from the beginning.
Yep.
And I agree with this. Danny Cannell's been saying this. I've been on board with this. This is the made-for-TV college playoff. Yeah, this isn't the college football playoff. Okay, this is the made-for-TV college football playoff.
This is what you think it is. This isn't your opinion. This is the way it should be, or is that your opinion?
No. I'm saying this is what it is. What it should be. It should be a true college football playoff. But it's not, because it's run by. We know what it's run by. I'm a part of it. I'm a part of the world. I get it.
Yep.
But that's the way. That's what we live in. Okay. Look, if Jordan Travis doesn't get hurt, Florida State's in the Final Four. Plain and simple. It's plain and simple.
Is it? I'm wondering. Yes, I agree. But part of me still says they would have put them through the ringer, because I really believe the NCAA was happy that Jordan Travis got hurt, because they did not want to have that last matchup that they had to decide between Alabama and Texas. I don't think they wanted anything to do with it, because they would have taken Alabama. And
100%. 100% they would have.
And they would have had to explain how you're taking a team that lost to Texas. And I don't give a crap if they played last March. If the games don't matter in September, then why are you scheduling the games?
The games don't matter, period.
Right.
That's basically what they just said on the weekend. The games don't matter. Everything, and look, the criteria that they come out with, they follow it, but they don't, because the rules change every year. And we've seen this. Look, Florida State, too early for the Christmas. Sorry, too early for that. No.
Couple weeks.
Couple weeks. Look. You look at it, right? You look at Florida State, Alabama Tech. You look down the ringer. If Brock Glenn comes in and does what Cardale Jones does in 2014 with Ohio State and drop a 59 spot on Louisville, Florida State's in, because they look like the same team. Problem is, they look like Iowa's offense, and that's the problem.
I still have my doubts. I mean, I get what you're saying. It would have been much harder.
It was going to be much harder, but I'll tell you.
They would have lined those 3 teams up either way, though, and I think they would. I don't doubt, because this is the way. Just because of what you said at the top.
Who do you want more in this thing? What matchup is better, Michigan versus Florida State or Michigan versus Alabama?
I don't care. I don't look at the matchups. I look at who
Neither do I.
Play for the title.
What? But it's not who deserves to play for the title. It's the 4 best teams.
It should be who deserves to play for the title. I get it.
It's not. So
if I use that criteria, then I've got to listen to the arguments about Alabama and Texas being deserving. Let me ask you this real quick, because I saw this morning. I don't know where I was. I was reading something in The Athletic, a question they got asked of one of the writers. if Deion Sanders was for some reason a coach of Florida State,
Florida State's
things
getting
have been different.
Yeah.
They probably would have got in.
But the problem is that question's old because Stephen A. Smith was talking about that, I think, on Monday or something on ESPN.
I didn't see a lot of stuff until
So he brought that exact scenario up on Monday. He was saying that if Deion Sanders was a coach of Florida State's getting in no matter what because it's Deion Sanders.
Which also speaks to what you said at the top. It's all about how can I get the most eyeballs watching, which I understand. We need eyeballs watching. But you're telling me I am not convinced that Texas and Alabama are going to bring that many more eyeballs than FSU. SFU also has a following across the country, and it isn't like we're talking Liberty here. I mean,
by the way, shout out to my buddy Justin, who helps me do the full press coverage college football podcast that we do.
Yeah,
he went to Liberty. Give it up for his Liberty Flames going to a New Year's Six bowl.
I will say congratulations to them. I wish they showed point. I want to see how far Liberty finished ahead of SMU. How far?
Well, see, we brought that up. We were talking about this. We want transparency. You give us these explanations. We want to see the votes. Show me how close it was.
I hate that part of this whole thing. But back to Liberty real quick. Congrats. Jamie Chadwell's done a great job. By the way, it's not that this program came from nowhere because Hugh Freeze had done a good job building up before he left for Auburn. And a little bit of a down year last year for them. But this is a great job. 12-0, playing a conference now. They were an independent for quite a while. And congratulations. They're going to get a New Year's Day bowl game, which I'm looking forward to. So.
I was very shocked to see Liberty there. I thought SMU was going to get the nod, to be honest.
After beating Tulane, who was ranked ahead of both of them, I thought SMU might jump in there myself. So, and again, I'd like to see how close that was.
I would have loved to. No, but look, you think about it, right? You go back to Florida State, right? And you look who they're playing in the Orange Bowl, right? And everybody's like, oh, they should boycott. No, don't. You know why? Because now if you go out and you go beat Georgia, by the way, neither team said nobody's not playing. Kirby Smart already told his players, nobody sits. Nobody sit.
Can he do that though? Can't Brock Bauer say, you're not my coach anymore because I'm leaving. I hope he doesn't.
I hope he doesn't because if I'm Florida State, if I'm Florida State, I'm Mike Norvell. The way he put that statement out, I'm telling nobody to sit. You want to go prove something to the world? Go prove it against Georgia on the field and go 14-0, and then we'll have a discussion about maybe we have a split national champion this year.
Well, we can't do that anymore because
but I'm just saying
we'll have a UCF thing on. They'll be claiming.
Well, maybe the writers at USA Today and the AP decide to go the other way.
That's possible. It could happen. It hasn't happened during the 14 playoff.
No, it happened in the BCS one year, but. Yeah.
Well, it happened a handful of times that I can remember. Colorado, I know, had a split national championship when it was.
Nebraska had one. During the BCS days, LSU won the BCS national championship, and then USC was voted by the writers.
And that might have been the only. That might have been the only split with the BCS.
Yeah, that was the only one. Yeah,
writers were still doing.
So I got to bring this up to you because I have a column up on fullpresscoverage.com, an opinion piece. That's the title is maybe the BCS got it right all along.
Well, you know what? Considering what this committee has done here, maybe so, because the computer's not going to take into consideration that the quarterback's out for Florida State.
No,
if this was a BCS ranking, then I think FSU be in.
So in my column, I go to there's a actual website that still exists. It says BCS know-how. They still run the poll. They still run everything. Florida State would be 4. Alabama was 3. Based on how the computer did everything. And Texas is 5.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I want to go back real quick to what we were talking about with the Florida State-Georgia game. On the flip side of that, and I said this earlier, my argument doesn't change. If Georgia goes out there and beats them by 4 touchdowns, it doesn't change the fact that FSU deserved the right to play for the title. It doesn't change my argument because people will jump on that and say, see, we told you. Well, I know they could go to the playoff and get killed because they don't have a quarterback.
Right.
but that's not what I'm talking about. So,
and maybe they would beat Michigan because look, Jim Harbaugh's track record in the semifinals ain't the greatest.
no, I know this. If he's going to win, this is his chance because
He ain't winning. I'm telling you right now, the minute I saw Alabama go in, I said to myself, you know what? I think Alabama's winning this thing this year.
it's going to be an interesting. So the matchups are Michigan and Texas, right?
No, Michigan and Alabama.
Hold on, I thought I had.
No, Texas plays Washington.
Where's my rankings? Oh, right, Michigan and Alabama, right?
Yeah.
I forgot Michigan was one. So you got Michigan and Alabama, and you got. I look at it again. As much as I'm upset about FSU, I mean, we've got good matchups. Alabama, if now they're playing good football now, we know that much better than earlier in the year, but it's still not vintage Alabama. Nick Saban.
No,
this is Nick Saban's best coaching job in my mind.
Well, he's an underdog. All the rat poison's out of the room.
Yeah, and for all his great, and I do think he's the best college coach of all time. This is his best coaching job by far. In my mind.
Easily.
The athletes are not there that have been there in the past, and he's done a great job of molding this team. So if Michigan was going to beat the SEC, this would be the chance to do it. But as you said, the track record for Harbaugh is not very good.
No, Michigan's like the Toronto Maple Leafs of college football. You can't win around. And look, this is all moot, and this is all all this goes out the window next year when we go to 12 teams. And some 13 and 14 are all going to be mad. Does the 13th team really? I mean, like this year, you got to hope next year that you have 8 legitimate contenders that can win the national championship like you do this year.
Yes. And you know what? I also said, and by the way, I said when we get to 12 teams, I'm not having this argument about 12 and 13.
I'm not. I could care less.
Whatever. You should have not lost to whoever you lost to. Now, if this was a 12-team playoff, I went through this earlier. You'd have Liberty in, right?
Right.
And they'd be playing, I think, Florida State in the first round. Obviously the teams that are getting in would have had byes, but you would have Florida State against Liberty. You'd have Georgia. Some interesting rematches. It would line up the way the rankings are right now. I wonder if they would have changed if there was a 12-team playoff, because you would have got Georgia against Ole Miss. You would have got Ohio State against Penn State. And a game I really would like to have seen is Oregon against Missouri. Carlos made the comment earlier that this would have been an awful year for a 12-team playoff, and I say it would have been a great year. These are all really good football teams. 4 undefeated, 4-1 loss, 4-2 losses. I think would have been a great 12-team field.
I think it would have been a great 12-team field, too. We all would have predicted Ohio State and Georgia probably win the rematches. I agree, the game that would have been most intriguing would have been Oregon and Missouri. I would have loved to have seen that game, and maybe Liberty gives Florida State a run for their money.
That would have been interesting because they would have had a chance to win that game for sure. And that would have been the big upset potential in round 1.
And you think about it, right? So, and Paul Feinbaum brought this up. And I really hope this didn't factor into the decision making. And we want to get back at Florida State and the ACC. But he was bringing up that the 12-team playoff really should have started this year. And because the Pac-12 and the Big Ten and the ACC all came together and said, it was the Big 12, the Pac-12, and the ACC all came together and said, no, we're going to vote it down. He was like, well, that was kind of the committee's way of saying, hey, you guys could have had it. You guys could have been in, but you weren't because you wanted to keep the old format.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's possible. And there's a lot of scenarios. We don't know. And again, that's why I want to see some more transparency out of this committee.
Well, and then you think about it, right? Put the scenario of next year's conferences in this year's 12-team playoff, if there was one.
Yeah.
Washington doesn't get a bye. Because Washington and Michigan are in the same conference.
Oh, great. Oh, that's true. That's a great point. Looking ahead. Yes.
You're looking ahead, right? You say you look ahead. Well, Washington and Michigan are in the same conference. So one of those two teams can't get a bye.
Yeah.
So realistically, Florida State or Liberty could have got a bye.
Liberty can't get a bye. They got to be in the top 4 They'd have
Right,
to be in the
exactly.
top four.
Right.
I don't think they could ever. I don't think that.
Well, no, the committee would never put a team like that out
Right.
a non-Power 5 conference
Right.
in the top 4. But I'm saying you could potentially have it.
And you're only going to have 5. Most they haven't changed it yet, but going forward, you're probably
next year. Well, next year they said the NCAA said that for the next couple of years the Pac-12 technically still exists. So,
So
but,
are we going to take either Oregon State and Washington then to the playoff? That's going to be an interesting scenario because they're going to play. They've announced their schedule. I believe they put a
Mountain West,
Mountain
West, yeah, Mountain West,
and playing each other. So it'll be interesting. Now they got to make a decision about it. Are they recognizing that as a power conference when it doesn't even exist, basically? So
I don't know.
Still a couple of decisions to make. Welcome to Linda. Linda's welcomed me back, and or Linda or Mac, whoever this might be. We never know who it is. I'm going to assume Linda. And,
me too.
They're congratulating you on your great new shows that you have going up on the Roku channel at Northeast Streaming Sports. So congratulations there. Anthony Price is with us today. He says Florida should have stayed at number 3 if it was a 12-team playoff. It becomes a little. Anthony's got a good point. They don't have to create the controversy because everybody else would have got in too.
Right, exactly.
But the bye's still important too. So
yeah,
they might have still dropped them, but either way, it just smells so bad to me. The Pac-12 had the best season. Now the Pac-12.
If they had all just waited one more year.
I'm going to say this much about that. You and I were both all over the Pac-12 early in the year. The Pac-12 did not finish very strong.
No, but they still were the best conference.
But I don't think they're better than the SEC now. With USC falling apart, UCLA's issues, Utah not really being up to snuff. The top was really good. And Washington State, who we thought was really good at the beginning, just going atrocious. But
I mean, how about Arizona, though?
I was just going to say, on the flip side, we had a surprise team in Arizona.
I still say it was the best conference this year, top to bottom, because if you look at some of even the bad teams, the games were competitive. You look at some of the bad teams around the rest of the nation. I would put the Pac-12 up against anybody right now. I think the SEC is still the toughest conference. This year, I will say that Pac-12 was the best conference, start to finish.
On the conference conversation, too, going back to Florida State again, and the argument when you're comparing them with Bama and Texas, if you're going to match them up and talk about the strength of the conferences, I would say the ACC is as good or better than the Big 12 this year anyway.
Good. Big 12 wasn't that good. Texas ran away with it, blew them out. And again, style points matter. Everybody's like, oh, well, we're turning the sport into figure skating. You know how long style points mattered in college football? Forever.
Longer than they mattered in figure skating.
Right, exactly. So I don't want to hear that argument because it's mattered.
Agreed. What's Linda got here? Stay with college picks. You're starting to pick NFL games like Jim. That's not you, Jim Jeff.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you had a bad week last week. I didn't see your post, Linda or Mac, and I know I might have gone all for 4 last week. I had a bad week. And I've had a good year in college. That's the same comment.
Yeah. College, we've done well this year. I actually finished. It's funny. I finished second in this group that I do. We played for a trophy. My friends, it's just a fun thing. I finished second in my college football regular season picks this year. So
good job. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Let's look. I want to go through. Let's just go through quickly. Anything else you want to chat about coaching wise? Harbaugh looks like he's staying in Michigan now because it looks like he's going to get a huge lucrative extension.
Well, if he does, then he's going to be suspended for a year.
You think so?
Mm-hmm. Well, at least that's my feeling. Again, who knows? You really don't know what the investigation's going to show, this and that. But I got a feeling he sits a few more games next year.
This will never go away if they keep doing this, though.
Right. But the ultimate. See, here's the thing. Like, there's a part of me that wants Michigan to win this thing to give the ultimate middle finger to the NCAA, who really doesn't want him there.
For all the people, there's a couple of things here. And I don't want to spend a lot of time in Jim Harbaugh because we have for a long time, and it's getting to be just ridiculous. But for everybody who wants to talk about all the evidence, because I talk about constantly, it's going on everywhere. you watch any show where there's a former player, former coach, or whatever, they'll tell you every program is trying to get an advantage. Maybe not this way, but some other way. And whoever you want to go find evidence on, you will find it if you look hard enough.
The Big Ten, everybody, I told you this when we were discussing this weeks ago. Rutgers does it. Illinois was doing it. Iowa was doing it. Ohio State, like they all do it.
Yeah. And if you just want to stick with the evidence part of it, there's all the others all conjecture. Okay, we'll throw common sense out the window and say I'm totally wrong, and nobody else does it. They're the only team that's ever thought of this. And the evidence, the mountain of evidence you keep talking about, none of it, and I'm not stupid enough to think he didn't know something was going on.
Yeah.
None of the evidence points at Jim Harbaugh. None.
No.
So if you want to just stick to your evidence argument, I'm sorry, you shouldn't be suspending him at all. And even when he got suspended a second time, they made it clear it was an institutional suspension, and he was a guy they picked to serve it because he's right. It wasn't suspending Jim Harbaugh specifically.
No.
For his
and he could have done it, but it would have been caught up in the courts and all this stuff. So he's just like, I'll just serve the suspension.
Right. Yeah. Of course, some more evidence had come out about somebody else at that point, but not him. If Florida beats Georgia, would that hurt the NCAA in ranking? Sure, it would. Yeah,
it would.
It's a great point. We talked about that, Anthony.
But the problem is the College Football Playoff Committee doesn't rank them after the bowls are over. The AP only ranks everybody now.
No, they have a champion, and that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Right. So you won't see a ranking for them. You'll see an AP ranking.
Which kind of bugs me. But it also brings me to the first point I made at the top of the thing where it's made for TV. That's why they do it only from week 8 on. But if this was a true ranking system, you should start from week 1.
Agreed. Absolutely. Why? I don't know why we start so late in the season.
Because the AP still matters from week 1 to week 8.
Well, they also want to be able to continue their argument that September games don't matter. Then let's not play September games. If they don't matter when you start ranking teams, then please stop. Because Texas beat Alabama. I don't give a crap how you look at it.
And that's the only reason why both teams went into the playoff, because you can't keep Texas out.
Right.
Because they beat Alabama. Because wins matter.
To my point, the YFSU's out because they did not want to sit down there and look at just Texas and Alabama one-on-one. They didn't want to do that.
No.
Before I go on to our picture, I didn't know. Let's see. If you didn't know, that's worse. I didn't say you didn't know, Rick. I merely said, everybody wants to talk about the mountain of evidence. Not one piece of that evidence points to Jim Harbaugh. Not one.
No.
Now, again, I talk a lot about common sense. Common sense says he knew. But common sense is not evidence. You guys keep pointing that out to me when I come up with other arguments. So it works both ways. I'm just saying. So let's look at some of these bowl game matchups, because there are some good ones.
There are good ones. I mean, I wouldn't say early on there are good ones. But...
No. Later on, we know. So we got the college semifinals, which are played in the Rose Bowl and in the Sugar Bowl this year. And then the championship game is on the 8th. The New Year's Day 6, I think there's some good matchups here. Missouri and Ohio State, I think, is a great matchup.
That's going to be a great matchup. I can't wait for that game. You know what other game I'm waiting for? Ole Miss, Penn State. I like that game.
Good game, Penn State. Yeah, it's funny. Two guys who can't beat the top teams in their conferences, so that'll be interesting to watch.
I know this may not be like on everybody's radar, but I'm kind of circling Iowa and Tennessee. I think that might be fun to watch. Could be a low scoring game, but
yeah, I mean, is Iowa ever fun to watch? I mean,
no,
it's painful.
Liberty and Oregon's interesting.
I like that matchup because, I mean, again, it's a Fiesta Bowl. Do we know if Bo Nix is going to play?
As of now, he says he's playing.
That's good. The problem is it's a month away. Well, not a month, but you know what I mean. So that's an interesting matchup. And, of course, the Georgia-Florida State matchup I think is interesting just because Florida State's got a lot to prove.
Right.
Georgia, they don't.
And who's the quarterback? And who's the quarterback for Florida State? Is it Rodemaker? Is it Glenn? Who is it?
My guess would be they'll go back to Rodemaker, assuming he's healthy. But
right,
because the other kid, unfortunately, but the other kid, if he's got some talent, one of the big problems going to that Louisville game is he'd had no reps.
No, exactly.
With the first team at all, basically all year, so that hurt them a lot.
I got one for you: Sun Bowl, Oregon State, Notre Dame.
That's an interesting game for sure.
The problem is DJ's not playing because he's hit the transfer portal.
Yeah. There's like 60 quarterbacks in the transfer portal already.
I know.
But
again, it goes to my point that I've been making on this show for God knows how long is stuff should not be allowed to happen until after the national championship game.
Oh, I agree. And listen, some of I'll jump off these games for a second and get back on my soapbox. Part of my argument about I didn't like the transfer portal in the beginning. I didn't like that they could do whatever they want to do. But my opinion has gotten less harsh. It hasn't totally changed, but it's gotten less harsh because coaches don't.
No.
There's no loyalty to coaches, and now it's even programs don't have any loyalty to the conference, to the players,
right?
To the teams in their conference, to the fans. They just jump and go wherever they want to go to make more money. So how do I get on the players when everybody else who's supposed to be their role model does
it anyway?
Go get more money.
Like for me, I don't mind about the transfer portal, whatever. But the thing for me is I want it to open after the national championship because you've heard me say on my soapbox, these playoff stats, these bowl stats count for the regular season. Okay, that's great, but every other sport has postseason stats. So if we're combining the two, then everything opens 48 hours after.
Yeah, Scott wants us to stop talking about the playoff, talk about Army-Navy. We'll talk about Army-Navy in just a second, I promise you. And I love Missouri in that Ohio State game.
So do I.
I may have liked them even if Ohio State wasn't without some of their starters. I just want to point out a couple of games that I like as well. And if you've got any others, we'll talk about them, then go to Army-Navy quickly. James Madison versus Air Force, I like to see. Because
I like that one.
To James Madison for getting in there. They had to get an exemption, and the only reason they got in there weren't enough teams with the winning record to be able to get into bowl games. So congratulations, James Madison there. What else did I like? Utah Northwestern, great job by David Braun at Northwestern this year. I thought that team would win 2 games this year. Great job. So I think that could be an interesting game. Who else we got here? Anybody else we like in some of these lesser games? Kansas, I think it would be an interesting game.
I mean, not that it's going to be highly entertaining, but Rutgers, Miami is.
Miami?
That could be interesting.
Well, we have our own reasons for wanting to see
it. Exactly.
How about Arizona, Oklahoma? I think is a
nice. I think that's going to be a fun game. I think that's going to be a real fun game.
Clemson, Kentucky, maybe interesting. I think you mentioned, maybe you did or didn't. Oregon State, Notre Dame, maybe you mentioned.
Yeah, that one. Yep.
Auburn, Maryland.
What about Memphis and Iowa State?
Interesting matchup. Yeah, that's interesting. Because Rick had said the Pinstripe Bowl is a good matchup this year. I got to find the Pinstripe Bowl.
That's the Rutgers Miami game.
Oh, that is the Rutgers Miami game. Okay. Maybe Carl. I didn't think I can get away that week. Carlos wants to go to that game, but who knows? Maybe we'll make a decision. Georgia will beat.
Well, let me know.
I will. Actually, I will. I gotta look.
Actually, I gotta send you a link for something if you can do it.
What's that?
The credentials have opened for the Pinstripe Bowl. If you want them, let me know. I'll send you the link.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Send it to me. I'll see what I got.
Yeah.
The date on that game. When is that?
December? It's a Thursday, I think.
I gotta see what's going on. So much travel coming up, but I doubt I'm traveling around Christmas, so that might work. I gotta see who's in town too.
Yeah.
Anyway, real quickly, Rick thinks Oregon will beat Florida State. I'm sorry, Georgia. Oh, Oregon.
Oregon. He wants to say he's going to beat Liberty by 3 touchdowns.
I know. I think Liberty will keep it closer than that. Oklahoma quarterback. You want the Oklahoma quarterback to transfer to Oregon?
You do, because he's going to be stuck in the SEC.
That'll be his second or third transfer as well. I think
Dylan Gabriel, right? Yeah.
He'd be good up in Oregon, man. He'd be really good.
He would be.
And Anthony likes the USC Louisville game. I don't know. Caleb Williams is not playing, I believe. I think.
No, he ain't playing.
Yeah, so I'm not so sure about that game. Let's talk because we only got about 10 minutes left here, and I probably kept you longer anyway. Army-Navy today. One thing the NCAA has not found a way to screw up yet is still having this day, basically, except for the FCS tournament being played. And by the way, Albany playing out in Idaho today. Go get them out there. They had a really good year this year. I hope it continues.
See, that's the true playoff. The FCS has done it the right way for years.
And for a long time. And it seems to work out great. So
right.
We can't figure that out anywhere else.
No.
But the NCAA does keep this as a standalone date, basically, for Army.
For FBF. For FBS, yes.
For FBS, yes. Standalone for FBS.
And it will remain that way going forward because even though Army has joined the American Conference, the game is still the last regular season game of the year, regardless if they've played in a championship game or not.
Excellent. I think that's the way they should do it. And I'm glad they.
Well, that's the only reason Army. That was the one condition Army had if they were going to join a conference. They want the Army. They wanted the Army-Navy game to be the last game of the year.
Well, this is it. Both teams, I believe, are 5 and 6, if I'm not mistaken. Navy's made a little bit of an improvement.
Army took a step back this year.
Army changed their entire offense, basically, to throw the ball more, and got off to a bad start. Had a good run in the middle of the season, then kind of fell off at the end. Jeff Monken got a new contract, though. He's done a great job at Army, and
so glad he's staying there. So glad he's staying there.
Me too. It's a great fit. He looks like he should be coaching Army. I can't imagine him leaving coaching somewhere else. So this game today, I believe, if I'm not mistaken,
it's close spread.
3? Is it 3?
I think it's a 3-point spread. Yeah.
Let me pull it up here real quick. I haven't got my cigar box bet. Yeah,
Army by 3.
27 and a half is the over-under. I think the game might go over. I'm not sure, but I like Army today myself, -3.
We'll see. Kind of it's a quasi, even though Navy, it's a home game for Navy because they're playing in New England, so.
And a great venue for my turf out there in Gillette. I'm glad that they're moving this game around a lot more than they obviously have.
Used to be Philly, just Baltimore,
Yeah, well, Philly had it for years and years, I think, at least when I was younger. So
Philly had it, New Jersey had it forever.
College game day is at Gillette today as well. Bill Belichick, by the way, is a guest picker today. There's only one game to pick, so it shouldn't be that.
Yeah, it shouldn't be that difficult.
You won't have to talk as much as he probably doesn't want to, and we won a game this week, so I'm ecstatic. What was I going to say? Yeah. So again, game day's there. I love game day. I'm a big game day fan, and Bill Belichick will go 1-0 because you guarantee. Actually, he's going to go 1-1 because there's no way he's not picking Navy.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah,
his dad was a coach for Navy for decades, so there's no way he's not picking Navy today. I don't know who else he's picking, so there's no other games, but it'll be very interesting. So thanks for pointing that out, Rick.
It should be a good game. It's hard hitting, always in the trenches kind of type of game. So unless they start airing it out, I feel like this game's going to be won on turnovers and in the trenches like it always is.
This is must-watch TV for me. Every year, I know it's not the best. Certainly not the best game of the year.
Absolutely not.
But it's a game I will never ever miss. It's just I can't remember ever missing.
It's a tradition. It's a tradition. It's one of the best rivalries in all of sports. It's Army-Navy standalone game before we have no college football until crap bowls start next week.
Yeah. There's a few. I think one of the ones we talked about we like might be next early in the schedule, but a lot of them. We don't need this many bowl games, by the way. And
no.
You're going to look at TV and you're going to see these stands half empty or more, and you're going to.
The James Madison game's not till next Saturday. Is it 2 weeks from today? So
is that the first one we talked about that was any good?
Yeah, the rest of them. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not really like Myrtle Beach Bowl, like Georgia Southern, Ohio.
I don't care about
that. Miami of Ohio, Appalachian State. I'm really not.
I'm happy for their fans, but
the New Mexico Bowl, New Mexico State, and Fresno State.
It's game day. This game is broadcast live. Who we got? Somebody giving me a link. Don't click that link if you don't know what it is, guys.
Don't do that. Yeah.
I guess lastly, the Heisman Trophy tonight.
Jane Daniels.
I don't see how he loses it now. Penix and Nick's kind of dropped below him, I think, the last few weeks. I'm not saying he's the most deserving. I mean, his numbers are tremendous. But he got a lot of points in garbage time a couple of weeks ago against, I don't even remember who. But one of those cupcake games the SEC likes to play in week 11. I think Jalen Daniels wins this. Marvin Harrison, big news, who I think is still, will tell you, is the best player in the country, hasn't been able to showcase his skills because of the limitations of that offense.
And by the way, Kyle McCord's hit the transfer portal.
And Marvin Harrison may stay another year, by the way, he said yesterday too. So that'll be interesting to see. So any chance Daniels doesn't win in your mind? I think not.
No. I think Penix had to go off against Oregon or vice versa for them to change their mind.
And neither one did.
Neither one did.
Not even close. Who's invited to? Is it the three of them that are invited? Do you
Four
know?
of them. All four of them are there.
Harrison's there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'm glad he's got an invite. He's going to finish fourth, probably.
Yeah, he's gonna definitely finish fourth. So
I hope he comes back and gets a chance to win this award because he's a guy. When the NFL draft comes along, there's going to be a lot of teams that pass on Marvin Harrison to take quarterbacks, and they're going to be very upset.
Marvin Harrison is one of the best wide receivers in the nation, along with Malik Neighbors.
Yeah, absolutely. And good morning, Kenny. You're running late today. We don't normally do the show on Saturday anyway. But
two guys that will make it in the next level is Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr. Both guys will.
Brock Bowers. I'll roll Brock Bowers in there too.
And the other wide receiver from LSU, Thomas.
Yep. And I would throw Brock Bowers in that group.
No, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at the tight end position. Patriots end up with its first pick. They may take Brock Bowers because that's the way Bill Belichick rolls. We don't worry about quarterbacks. We just take tight ends.
See, the worst part is, like, real quick before we get out of here, real quick. Yep. The sad part is Mac Jones is a good quarterback. The worst part is that offense sucks.
They've just ruined him. I mean, his confidence is gone, and it's sad. It really is. But it also shows you, and to swing this back to college, that's why a lot of these guys, when they get there, and not that Mac Jones has the talent, the skills to play quarterback in the NFL. So does Michael Penix Jr. But when you're in college, you can just throw the ball up and guys go get it. That's a lot different than playing in the NFL. So that's why I don't like Michael Penix on the next level, to be honest with you.
That's why I don't like Caleb Williams on the next level either.
I don't like Williams. I don't like – of all the guys, Daniels might be the best because of the way that quarterback now is in
Drake May, too, could be good on the next level.
Drake May could be good, and I think Bo Nix will have a chance. But I see a lot of Mac Jones and Bo Nix, too. So we'll see. It'll be interesting. Jim, thanks for coming in today.
Always, man.
Catching up with us, and we'll have to have you in to do some hockey as well soon. We can do some tomorrow if you want to come on. We can talk some hockey if you want to come on. If you can't, we'll leave it for next week. Don't worry.
I'll figure it out. I'll let you know. I'll play it by ear.
Yeah, let me know. And if you pop in, great. If not, have a great weekend. Enjoy Army Navy, and we'll catch up on hockey with you when we can.
Absolutely, guys. Take it easy. Guys, enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the game. Always a pleasure to be here for you, Keith.
Excellent. Thanks, Jim. Have a good weekend.
You too. Bye.
The great Jim Biringer from Let's Talk Sports and Full Press Hockey, fullpresshockey.com and Full Press. I think he's using that moniker for a lot of his shows as well. Kenny, sorry you got in so late. We talked a lot about Notre Dame. Actually, we didn't talk at all about Notre Dame. Guys, I'll be back tomorrow. And this show will be back at its regular time, by the way, next Wednesday at 7 p.m. No traveling next week, but I'll be on tomorrow at 9 a.m. 8:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Again, I will say, please say a little prayer for my friend Bill Slocum, who was just in a tragic accident last night. I found out about this when I got off a plane at 10 o'clock last night. Say a little prayer. Don't know the situation, and it's a little scary and very depressing. So say a little prayer, whether you know him or don't. Say a little prayer. Guys, I'll see you tomorrow morning. Enjoy your weekend. Keith Engel for TGI Sports Talks College Football Huddle. It's been a blast. See you later. Bye-bye.